Warning! Warning!
This is a video for a modern budget build. If you're gonna argue about, performance and something else, then this video is not for you. It's gaming only. All right, so recently AMD unveiled something pretty massive. And no, I'm not talking about their GPUs. They actually slashed the price of their last gen of CPUs. Now, are they worth it? Well, that's what we're gonna talk about on your boot sequence. Before we get into the price cuts, let's talk about why this is important. Both AMD and Intel released their next generation of CPUs, the Intel Raptor Lake 13th generation and the AMD 7000 series. And while their pricing is about right, Intel starts at about $310 US, while AMD starts at $299, well, their price of entry is not as friendly as you might think. Expensive new chipsets and the high-performance DDR5 memory makes it harder and harder to make a budget build. And that's why this AMD price cut is so important. So let's talk about that price cut. How much did AMD discount the Zen 3 based Ryzen 5000 series? Well, the 5950X drops from $799 to $549, a good $250 off. The 5900X from $549 to $349. Now that's a pretty hefty discount. The 5800X goes from the MSRP of $449 to $249, and the 5600X goes from $300 down to $160, sometimes slightly lower. That's an insane deal. And the star of the show, or at least the one that everybody's gonna want me to include, the 5800X 3D, which goes from $449 down to $329. But that's the same price as the new Raptor Lake and Ryzen 7000 CPUs, right? Yeah, but what's around it is much, much cheaper. So let's build 3 systems and we'll go through where we can save the most money. We'll focus on CPU, motherboard, and memory. And other factors like the case, fans, and the power supply, and also of course the GPU, well, these would work with all 3 systems we're about to build. Okay, so let's start with an AMD budget build. All right, for AMD, the 7600X is what we want because, of course, we're looking for a budget build, but we don't want to compromise on the architecture. We want the latest and greatest. So let's go ahead and grab this boy right here, add to cart. And now for the motherboard, it's very important that we get something that is compatible. So we're gonna go here, computers, component storage, motherboard, and we want AMD motherboard, specifically the AM5, obviously. I'm gonna go ahead and check AM5, apply, and we're gonna go ahead and sort by the lowest price possible. This is a new motherboard, the Gigabyte B650M DS3H, and it looks actually pretty good. It has heat sinks on everything that needs to be heat synced. It is a micro ATX, but we're looking for the most budget motherboard. Look, if we want a full ATX one, we're gonna have to spend an extra $40. That's not in the cards for now. So let's go ahead and add this one to the cart. Done. No thank you. I don't need no motherboard protection plan. Then we have the memory. So let's go ahead and grab the memory, component and storage. Memory, let's try to find something that is, reasonably priced. And we have here a 16 gigabyte kit for $99. That's actually a pretty good kit. The cast latency is 36. Vilzoid said it doesn't matter.
This proves a point. The primary timings do not matter. So, yeah.
Let's add it to the cart. So, Future Snow's here with a haircut, here to make a small correction. So, well, it's not really a correction, but anyways, 2 8GB sticks of DDR5, like this Oloy here that I showed, will be consistently slower than 2 16GB sticks of DDR5. That's because most of the time, that kit will be single rank dual channel, while the 32GB kit with 2 sticks will almost always be dual rank dual channel. Now I say consistently slower, but we're talking about a maximum of 5% and most of the time a 1 or 2% difference. The savings though that we're talking about when we're going from 16 to 32 gigs is on the order of like $150. So I'm keeping this kit here because we're looking for the best bang for the buck and 16 gigabytes is enough for gaming. See ya. Now we're at CPU, motherboard, and memory. Quick and dirty, we have something. So let's go ahead and take a look at the cart. That's not bad, but now you have to add, your cooler. You have to go ahead and add your case, your GPU, your power supply, and your storage, of course. But that cost is associated whenever you build a PC, so we'll just skip to Intel now. Now for Intel, once again, latest and greatest, the 13600K. So let's go ahead and go 13600K. Boom. How much is this bad boy already? 309. Perfect. We'll go ahead and grab it. Add to cart. Now, what's important with the 13th gen of Intel CPUs is that you want the best motherboard for whatever you're buying. Like if you have a 13700 or a 13900K, you probably won't want to choose the same motherboard as I will. So I'm going to go ahead and go to components and storage, motherboards, Intel motherboards instead. Here you go. I'm going to go ahead and choose a 600 series boards because they're going to be cheaper. And I'm not going to look for Z690. We already know it's going to be way too expensive. So go ahead and apply. Okay, so I limited the search results to B660 since, there were a lot of H610s and others. So as is, the ASRock B660M Pro RS LGA, this specific model, not this one, but this one is actually not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and add to cart. When it comes to memory performance with DDR4, you want something that's slightly faster. You don't need the best of the best. The differences is going to really be of diminishing return. Like you can buy a DDR4 4000 CL14 kit, but it's gonna cost you more than DDR5. So why go there? So I'm gonna go ahead and find a cheap kit right here. So we're gonna go with an inexpensive Mushkin kit here. It's 3600 DDR4 and it has a super low latency of CL16. So it's a great kit of DDR4 memory. I'm gonna add it to the cart and let's go ahead and view the cart. Yes, I'm human. Okay, cool. And here we go. Look at that, $459.97. So as is, the 13600K kit is about $100 less than the AMD one. That's interesting. For the rest, power supply, cooler, and everything, it should all be interchangeable. But now let's go see what a last gen AMD system would cost. We're not gonna go last gen Intel because the prices are not low enough, but the price cut on the 5000 series are definitely worth it. Now I'm gonna start with the motherboard and I'll explain why in a second, but let's take a look. We got B450s and B550. If you're building a budget PC, you might want to consider B450 just because, it's slightly less expensive, but at the same time, you lose that PCIe Gen 4 capability, which can make a difference when we're talking about super high-end graphics. And I wouldn't judge you if you were skimping more on the CPU, the motherboard, and the memory to get a faster GPU like a 6900 XT. And yes, that could be a build. You could be saving hundreds here to get a better GPU, especially considering that at higher resolutions, the CPU matters less and less. So let's take a look at B450, $70 right here, but I'm gonna go ahead and B550 it with this ASRock motherboard. Actually, is that one a good one? Let's take a look. Nope, definitely not. What about this gigabyte right here? At a glance, it seems fine, but nope, still there's a lot of MOSFETs here that are, there's a lot of VRMs here that are still uncovered, so no thank you. Now it's a little bit less important for last gen since, temperatures and also just the raw power wasn't as bad as it is now with AM5, but I still want these VRM to be cooled, so let's go ahead and take a look at another one. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this B550 PG Riptide. It looks pretty cool, and we're gonna go ahead and add it to the cart. Now for memory, it's very clear what the 5800 X3D needs. 3600 CL16 is a perfect budget option here. $72.99 from Corsair. This looks like the perfect kit. All we're missing is the 5800 X3D. The problem is, you can't find it at that $329. It's advertised on AMD's website, and yes, they cut the price, but it's sold out everywhere. It's all third-party sellers selling it for more expensive than it actually is. Take a look here, for example. This person is selling it way over the cut price that AMD announced. But even if you find it at that $329 price point, is this system still worth it? Well, let's back up and look at all three of those systems. Those three systems, well, trade blows non-stop. Whether it's DDR5, DDR4, faster or slightly slower memory, it doesn't matter. They're all within about 10% of each other. The 13600K and the 5800 X3D systems, though, are about $80 to $100+ cheaper than the AM5 platform. So if you're on a budget, it's a pretty easy choice. Now, I get that people will say that there is a better upgrade path in the future for AMD's AM5 platform, but when people are looking for the absolute best bang for the buck and nickel and diming their systems to extract the most juice from their money, most of the time they don't plan on upgrading in 2 to 3 years. Plus, by nickel and diming here, they're just pushing the rest of the money towards what really matters in gaming, the GPU. And it's not like you were going to pair a 4090 with one of these CPUs. I mean, I wouldn't judge you if you game game in 4K or something, that might be worth it, but you're not going to be severely CPU limited here. Which brings me to the ultimate bang for the buck system, the 5600X. This legendary CPU allows you to have the core of your system taken care of for just $300, or a little over $300. And on top of that, it comes with a cooler. Now, is it going to be slower? Sure, but here you're at almost half the price of the 7600X core system, 50% for something like a 20 to 25% drop in performance. Plus, with the 5600X system, you don't need to make compromises for it to be at its fastest. Whereas for the 7600X, I did have to nickel and dime it. You could pay a lot more for better DDR5 memory on AM5, but all you're doing is adding a lot of money for not a huge bump in performance. So it looks like if you want to build a new modern system on the cheap, you either go back a generation for AMD with the 5800X 3D, go forward a generation with Intel on the 13600K, or thrift it real good with the 5600X. It looks like despite costing $10 less than the Intel 13600K, the 7600X makes no financial sense. So what are your thoughts on this? Let me know down below. Anyways, guys, that is pretty much it for today's video. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Drop a like if you liked it, a comment if you want to discuss anything that I brought up in this video. As usual, you can click right here to see the latest video right here, to subscribe to the channel. Stay frosty, my dudes, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.